This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV, and while ASU is on a bye week, my co-host Joe Healy is on a bit of a bye week as well. So we brought in Ralph Amsden to co-pilot this episode of Speak of the Devils. Ralph, it's always great to talk to you. You have a long history on our podcast. How are things in North Carolina?
Things are great. Feeling very 4-1 right now.
It's a good feeling to have, and especially the way that ASU did it was an extremely weird game, which also made it an extremely normal ASU game in a way, and just in terms of weird things happen. Now, of course, it was a game that came. It was the blackout game. Came after a huge storm hit the valley, but ASU had to weather a storm of their own making as they fell behind 17-0 to TCU. Before a furious rally in the final minutes. Just overall, what did you see? What were your thoughts when ASU, again, for the second time, weirdly enough, this season, fell behind 17-0?
Part of me believed it was just a matter of time before the offense was able to do something. And, it never felt in the beginning of the game like Arizona State's defense had let the dam break. It really just felt like the offense hadn't quite figured out what to do yet. This is not a good TCU defense. It was not good against SMU. It had not been good all year long. It's a defense that you can run against, but what you don't want to do is be in a position where they have the ability to blitz you over and over and over again because you have to throw. So kudos to Arizona State for staying the course in this game and letting the game ultimately come to them after digging a hole. And shout out to the Sun Devils for giving Todd Graham another loss at Sun Devil Stadium / Mountain America Field. His first, I guess, at Mountain America.
That's true. Yeah, it was during his tenure. It was called a little something different. But let's start off with talking about that defense, Ralph, because it went to work, and it basically in that fourth quarter said, you know what? No, we're not losing this one. They held TCU to just 269 yards, 10 yards rushing, 6 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. Both of those were the highest totals for the Devils in a number of years. But to me, the thing that jumped out was just in that fourth quarter, they allowed just 3 yards, just giving up 9 feet to the Horned Frogs in crunch time, while also taking the ball away twice. And that defensive line, Ralph, I can't remember the last time the Sun Devil defense looked that ferocious and unblockable.
Absolutely. And think about this. This is a Sonny Dykes coached team. Arizona State's track record against air raid teams in the last 10 years has not been great. You had the 5th down loss in Pullman. You had the Mike Leach accused you of sign stealing loss at Sun Devil Stadium. You had Jake Dickert running some version of Nick Rolovich's offense in his first game where the fans booed Arizona State at home with Jaden DeLora at quarterback. You had Jared Goff at Cal. You had Patrick Mahomes throw for 500 plus yards. The experience against air raid teams has not been all that great, but Brian Ward gets in here. He tells his defensive backs, go ahead and let them make that catch in the flat. Just come up and make the tackle. And so we've seen Arizona State really succeed in recent years against high volume passing teams. And to do it to Baylor and TCU in back-to-back weeks shows you that this defense is special.
Yeah, and Prince Dorba had a special game, 3 sacks, including a strip sack in the fourth quarter. Took down Josh Hoover while also taking the ball away. That set up a clutch Sun Devil score. It was one of the hallmark plays of this young season so far. But just the way that this Sun Devil team was able to kind of show that resilience that defined the 2024 team was really interesting to me. Let's switch over to the offensive side though, because some like box score scanners might say, "Oh, there's a great game by the Sun Devil offense." 498 yards. You had a quarterback throw for nearly 300, running back and receiver each top 100 yards in a game. But man, those red zone woes, Ralph, back-to-back weeks. The Sun Devil team is moving up and down the field, but once they get close to the end zone, they're far too often having to settle for field goals.
Absolutely. And, part of it is just not really developing trust between Sam Levitt and really anybody else outside of Jordan Tyson. A little bit of Shimon Mateer, but mostly Jordan Tyson. And the fact that you're still having trouble running to the interior. And you've got some offensive linemen that are struggling with interior pressure, committing some penalties, jumping early. It's a lot to clean up, but the primary focus to me should be finding somebody to give Sam Levitt an outlet outside of Jordan Tyson.
Yeah, Shimon Mateer, the tight end, has been stepping up a little bit, but the wide receiver production outside of Tyson has been minimal. Jaron Hamilton had his first catch. He was supposed to be a deep threat. But yeah, overall, when you look at the situation, there are some issues, and we'll dive into them a little bit later on about what ASU needs to do going forward in terms of, to make this a successful season. But even with these issues, Ralph, they're 4-1, and most importantly, 2-0 in conference play. That's not a bad spot to be heading into your first of 2 bye weeks to fix some of these issues.
2-0 in the Big 12 and continuing to defend home field, building on the excitement of coming out of a Big 12 championship and giving these new students, the 15,000 plus that enroll every single year, something to look forward to and a great home field experience.
Yeah, it was a really great home crowd atmosphere. And, the gates were a little bit late in opening, but it was the blackout once the fans got in there, and they kind of shook off the gloomy weather. It was a rocking atmosphere at Mountain America Stadium, and I thought that ultimately in that fourth quarter, when they kind of smelled the blood in the water, they helped that Sun Devil defense get things going in the right direction. But after the break, we are going to be talking to a couple of Sun Devils that played a key role in getting Saturday's outcome, and also looking ahead to the rest of this 2025 season. What happened in that fourth quarter where it just seemed like that D-line just was like, we're gonna win this game?
I think just in football in general, you live for opportunities like that. You live for opportunities to, I guess, rush the passer. So not even just rush the passer, just to have the ability to kind of close the game out. But like we just did our job. The back end did their job, backers did their job, so they gave us enough time to hit home. So it's really just team defense working, and we just got the stats to show for it. But it's really everybody that played the part to make it happen. So shout out to all the guys rushing. Shout out to the people, the guys in the back. Like I said, everything plays in a one. So yeah.
What was it the kind of the feeling like, on the field with the D-line, or even on the sideline in that fourth quarter, where you guys just knew like you were dominating, and basically you were imposing your will on TCU?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we live for the opportunities like that. To be able to have a chance to make plays like that is big, and we have a thing called 4=1 in our room. So if somebody gets a sack, it's not just because the one guy that got the sack, it's because of all four that go. So if you ask anybody that got a sack, they'll probably say 4=1, or the guys next to us did a job, so things like that. So I'm not taking away from what Prince, like people like Prince and Clay, everybody got sacks at what they did because they had good moves, but there's a lot goes into it. So yeah, I mean, it's easier to do your job when you have guys next to you. So I don't mind eating the slide if I know Prince gonna get a one-on-one, or Clay's gonna get a one-on-one, or Cooper Watts gonna get a one-on-one. So it's our brothers. We love to see everybody eat. So there's a lot of unselfish guys on the team, a lot of unselfish guys in our room. So we don't mind not taking a playoff, but like watching out for them, looking out for them in certain plays, just so they can get there. So because what they get, it reflects on the whole room. So so we love seeing each other eat. So opportunities like that feels great.
Yeah, Kenny mentioned that, just saying that he said like the D-line kind of understands that, sometimes, the twist game and just like stuff like that, sometimes it's the second guy coming around that might, actually get the sack, but just, that collective mentality of all working together. How do you feel like the collective experience and, basically every returning face, from a year ago has helped, result in that improved pass rush?
Yeah, I'd say it's just trust. Knowing the guys next to you, you can trust the guy next to you, knowing if I do my 111 that he's going to do his, and it's also going to play how it needs to. So yeah, it's really that part, and then putting your pride aside, knowing like you're not going to have the cleanest rush or the one-on-one each time, but knowing that the guy next to you has it, and not trying to take away from him and trying to get yours, and knowing that everybody plays to one whole, and if he eats, everybody eats. So like I said, yeah, so having that trust and putting pride to the side, and being excited when everybody else gets there.
And it seems like there's a lot of sign of respect for you from opposing offenses. Double teaming you constantly, and but still fighting through that. What's it like? Just each and every play, just seeing so much kind of extra attention this year from the offense.
I mean, I think a lot of the team in general is getting a lot of respect. So it's not just me. Every D tackle that went in there got double teamed. So yeah, so it was a dogfight for all the D tackles. But like you see what happens. So if the D tackle, if they double the D tackles, then you get the singles for the edges, and so like I said, everything plays into one piece. So I don't mind it. If you ask anybody on the D tackles, like the D tackles don't mind it because we know that we're just doing our 111, and like I said, the stats gonna happen, the plays gonna come. So yeah, I mean, as long as the team's winning, it really doesn't matter. So yeah, it's just a blessing to be out there, a blessing to be able to help the guys and do my part on the team.
The last 2 weeks, you faced a couple of very potent offenses, but held them respectively to each 24 points, multiple turnovers. What do you think those 2 wins have really done collectively for this team's mindset?
I think it just continues to build confidence. I don't think there's such thing as too much confidence. So once you go past, I guess it's really not confidence anymore, it's arrogance. So as long as you're still in that confidence area, I think it's as much confidence as you need. So just being able to have that confidence grow each week, knowing that we can get the ball out, knowing we can create turnovers, knowing we can stop the run, get a pass rush, or defend the back end for the DBs and linebackers. So yeah, just building the confidence and just knowing, like building that trust also. As the time goes on, you kind of trust. You build more trust with those guys who maybe weren't here or you're still here, and now they're starting to come around. So yeah, it's just that trust and that confidence.
Last year's team, it seems like, was kind of defined by the resiliency and the ability to overcome adversity. These last 2 weeks, it seems like some of those similar traits are starting to show up again. How do you maybe compare and contrast to last year's team and their resiliency to this 2025 version of the Sun Devils and the kind of resiliency you guys are showing?
I mean, that's just who we are. It's part of our culture. Every phase we go through, whether it's winter training, summer training, we have adversity, we create adversity. So when it comes to times like this, it's normal for us. We've been in times like this, so we can finish those games. We can be comfortable in those times. So some people can kind of get tense, but I mean that's where we've been on multiple times. So it's what we're used to. I mean, it'd probably be more fun if we had a little bit of a stretch, but I mean that's what we do. So just to be able to have those games, pull those games out, that's probably the biggest thing, to be able to pull those games out, because not everybody can, and so just be able to have that ability to pull those games out is a blessing.
Like Kenny mentioned, just hoping to get to a full game rather than not having to show that resiliency, but just put a full 60 minutes together rather than on Friday falling behind 17-0. What do you think are the keys now that you've seen this team in action 5 games to putting that complete football game together?
Really, it's just going back to who we are, not straying away from anything. Just like the coaches always say, letting the players play and not the scheme. So the coaches, they've been doing that. So now it's just on us as players to do that, do our job, do our 111 in that. So with like so much is good. I'm blanking right now. Too much whom is given, so much is required. So if they give us that responsibility to make plays and to let the players play, we have to step up and actually play and do our job and execute at a high level. So,
welcome back to Speak of the Devils. It is now time for the Sun Devil Stock Report. I am going to throw 6 Sun Devil stocks Ralph's way. He will either buy or sell, starting with, we can all stand down from the Sam Levitt Red Alert Watch.
I'm going to sell. This is a Big 12 championship caliber program coming off a Big 12 championship. Good teams keep the pressure up on their players, and the pressure comes from high expectations. Arizona State fans should keep high expectations.
All right, buy or sell. Arizona State's red zone woes are more about execution than the play calling.
I'm gonna sell. Sounds so optimistic. This is the bear market or whatever. I am not convinced that Arizona State knows what all it has quite yet. And to me, that's a play calling and a personnel issue. Sure, there are some execution issues. However, it really comes down to knowing the right personnel and developing what you're doing around them. Once that's in place, I think Arizona State starts to have some success in this area.
All right, stock number 3, buy or sell. Arizona State will have their first double-digit sack player since Antonio Longino in 2015.
I'm going to go ahead and buy that. I've watched a lot of Big 12 football this year. There are some decent offensive lines, but to be honest, one of the better ones that Arizona State's going to face all year just came to town. And if you get 6 sacks against them, imagine what you're going to be able to do against some of the lesser performing University of Arizonas out there that don't necessarily have the ability to pass block at a high level.
All right, stock number 4. If Arizona buy or sell, if ASU got the stop against Mississippi State, they'd be in the top 10 right now.
I'll buy that because they started the season at 11 and there would be no reason to drop them. It's a very crowded top 20. And honestly, the top 30 teams all have a shot at the college football playoff. It's a brave new world. And so the one thing that I know about these voters is they're very hesitant to drop somebody after a win. And if Mississippi State had turned around and had that respectable performance against Tennessee after losing to Arizona State, it would have strengthened Arizona State's position. But right now, the distance between 10 and 30 is very minimal. And remember, Arizona State wasn't even in the top 25 until late in the season last year.
All right, buy or sell. ASU is a top 3 team in the Big 12 right now.
Arizona State is the top team in the Big 12 right now. Are they playing like it? No, but I will buy that they are a top 3 team. There are some good teams out there, and there's some teams that maybe you're not even considering that have had some early impressive contests, like a Cincinnati who beat Arizona State last year. They go into Kansas and they win, and they also played Nebraska down to the last series. So I would say that there are a lot of teams who have a lot of opportunities to do good things, but right now Arizona State is 2-0 in conference, and they're the defending champion minus Cam Scatteroo, but still leading the conference in rushing with Raleek Brown. There's no reason to assume that Arizona State has taken a step back while everyone else took a step forward.
All right, real quick before the last stock, your top 3 right now. You have obviously ASU 1.
I have Arizona State. I have Texas Tech, and even though Utah lost it late in the game against Texas Tech, I still like what Utah is doing.
All right, final stock for you. Buy or sell. ASU must go at least 1-1 over the next 2 games at Utah, home Texas Tech, to stay a Big 12 contender.
Yes, because there were 4 teams that went 7-2 last year, and when you have 4 teams that go 7-2, you know that the difference between first place in the conference and 5th place in the conference is maybe 1 game. So 1-1 is the absolute bare minimum.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough stretch for the Devils, but they've so far shown that they're able to rise to the occasion. And we'll, of course, see what happens over the next couple weeks. But after the break, Ralph and I are going to take a look ahead at what we've learned so far through this 2025 season and the things we need to see going forward. Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Ralph and I are now going to take a look back at these first 5 games, some of the key lessons, but also look ahead and outline some of the things we need to see going forward. Ralph, what's been a positive surprise about this team so far?
Well, probably the defensive backs being essentially shut down unit. You graduate a couple of very, very important players, and you bring over like a former 5-star from Georgia via Purdue, and you know, Keith Abney is good. NFL scouts are on him, but you don't know that he's going to be this lockdown guy. And as you talked about on the podcast, with a 98 overall Pro Football Focus here, you might as well draft him in the top 10 like he's Charles Woodson. And so the dominance of the secondary is one of the biggest surprises to me.
For me, I'm pleasantly surprised that this team is over the last couple of weeks has shown the resilience and the ability to overcome adversity that was the hallmark of the 2024 team. To me, that characteristic was the most important for them making their playoff run, and so to see it pop up back after a shaky first couple weeks has been nice. On the flip side, Ralph, what's been a negative surprise so far?
The people on offense that you expected to be contributors, whether through injury and or the opportunity not being there, Jaron Hamilton, Kanye Udo. There were so many stories written about so many tight ends, and and they have not necessarily made an appearance yet. And so for me, it's a lot of the guys who might have looked good in practice on offense that have not found a way to execute, primarily the receivers.
Yeah, for me, it's the inability for ASU to put together a complete game. Like, they'll have a good first half or a thrilling second half or something, but they're not able to really play a full 60 minutes. That's something that Kenny Dillingham kind of bemoaned a little bit earlier this week in his press conference. So we'll see if they're able to do just that. Who's been a breakout surprise for you, a player for you so far, Ralph?
Raleek Brown. I never watched him in high school, watched him at USC. Never expected him to be a guy that would put on 20 pounds of muscle and be able to run between the tackles and potentially lead the Big 12 in rushing. Always thought he was a change of pace home run hitter guy. He's shown that he can be an every down back.
I agree. I think he's the good pick there. For me, I would also say somebody different. Safety Boogie Wilson, who's done a really good job in stepping up for Xavier Alford, who's been out with an injury over the last couple of weeks. He's been a nice, pleasant surprise. On the flip side, Ralph, who's been a disappointment so far that has a chance to maybe turn things around over the last 7?
Well, when I say Raleek Brown is the biggest surprise positively, then I can't turn around and say Kanye Udo, because there's just not really the reps for him. He's going to have to make the most of the opportunities that he has been given. For me, and this is going to be controversial, but Shimon Mateer, I expected him to have some more clear progression than he's had going from last year to this year. I thought he was going to be one of those breakout tight ends. We'd be talking about him the way we talk about a Zach Miller. But so far, it hasn't been that.
For me, it's wide receiver Jaron Hamilton. He just torched this what's turned out to be a really good Sun Devil defense all through fall camp. But he made his first catch against TCU for 44 yards. So I think maybe that might get him the confidence to improve play over the last half of the season. All right, Ralph. One thing that absolutely must improve from the Sun Devil team is,
I would say consistency, but I think it would betray the identity of this team that needs to face adversity, that needs to get up off the mat. But I know you feel differently. I'll say for now, the thing that really needs to improve is the interior of the offensive line needs to get better push, especially in close quarters.
yes, that leads into my answer of just pass protection in general has been pretty poor. All right, real quick, and last one for us, Joe or Ralph. Who is your first half-ish team MVP?
Keith Abney II.
Yeah, absolutely a stud there on the defense. I'm going to the offense. It's Jordan Tyson. He has been an absolute Superman for this Sun Devil offense, and hopefully he's able to continue his streak and really challenge some program records along the way. That's going to do it for this episode. Make sure you check Ralph and I out on our full podcast episode, available everywhere you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And then Joe and I will be back next week as we preview ASU's trip to Utah.